Multimodal teaching narrative. I'm just going to be going through a couple of things, how literacy affected me throughout life, and how I plan to use literacy once I've gained this knowledge from this course. So I kind of use this meme to think about how I see myself as a reader in my literacy experience growing up. It says what my teacher says, the turtles are a symbol of our indifferent and selfish society. What the poem meant, I like turtles. And growing up, I was never a very great reader or writer. I could read really fast, but would never get the meaning. Could never get the meaning across of what the writer was trying to say. And I think, especially in my content area, the literacy came a lot easier because it was the numbers growing up. It wasn't as centered in the words and everything. And already from the beginning of this course, I've started to see a different viewpoint from that math is just numbers and not words. So how my family and friends helped shape my literate identity. So I use this example of this girl with the doing the problem on the board because I have this very vivid memory of my first grade teacher every morning doing a math problem. And I think that is how I became so literate in math, because she made it fun and made me want to do it. I was always the one that was, oh, I can do it, like I know the answer. And that shaped me into becoming so literate in my content area. I also think that my family saw this and saw that math was a very strong subject for me and had me focus on that subject more as I was in the calculus classes going into senior year, and they just made sense. And my friends would come to me for help, and my literacy was very strong in that content. So I want to talk about technology as a role. So one of the things that we use in my classroom already is Khan Academy. We don't use it as just the main source of teaching. It's really supposed to be a reinforcement for the kids. And I wanted to just play this link because it kind of shows how this technology can influence their literacy.
Examples of polynomials. So the first part of this word, let me underline it. We have poly. This comes from Greek for many. And you see poly a lot in the English language, referring to the notion of many of something. So in this case, it's many nomials. And nomial comes from the Latin nomen for name. So you could view this as many names. But in a mathematical context, it's really referring to many terms. And we're going to talk in a little bit about what a term really is.
So that really, that's one example that Khan Academy has of where they show you a word and then explain it, and then they go into depth about how you're going to use it. And I think that can be really beneficial to the kids that are struggling with literacy, and how they can turn that into something that is more fun for them and the ways that they can remember it. And the next thing...
Examples of polynomials. Examples of polynomials.
So in my classroom, there's another thing that I think is very important. So word walls, I think, are a good way to have kids have more access to literacy in math. It allows them to be seeing the words over and over again. And I especially like word walls like the one pictured here, because it gives them the word and then it also shows them a picture or some sort of image that they can relate it to. So they know that they'll be able to say like, oh, I can go look for linear equations or a linear graph, and I can see that there's a graph with a straight line on it. As it was talked about in the readings a lot, about how literacy isn't just reading and writing, and it can become in forms of discussion and talk. In the SIA talk that it talked about, I really think that the discussion piece is important. So I wanted to show these two videos of adolescents learning in math and their language that they use. So let me show this first one. She talks about number lines and how she would organize them with fractions.
1/6 goes to close to 0, and 3/6 goes under the half, because half of 6 is 3, and then 5/6 goes close to whole because it's almost a whole.
Because like if you draw it and like if you color 5 in, it would be close to another 6. So it'd be close to a whole.
Yeah.
Classroom.
So in that you can see that she's able to discuss with her partner the words that are important in that in that specific standard, and really discuss through what's going on in her head. So I think discussion with a partner is a big thing that I want to incorporate more in my classroom to influence that literacy moment. And then this next example shows a girl showing the class what she's learned. So take a look at that.
So I look at 1/6 and I automatically know that is a unit fraction because the numerator is a 1. And I know that 1/6 is the least out of 3/6 and 5/6, so I know that it goes somewhere around 0. So I'll put that right there. And I look at 5/6 and I know that 5 is almost 6, so I put it near the hole. And I look at 3/6 and I know that 3 is half of 6, so I put it at the 1/2 mark.
What do you think? Agree or disagree?
Agree.
What concept?
So I really think that by having students come up and be vulnerable and willing to show that they have the knowledge and the literacy of using the 1/6 rather than 1/6 is a big thing, like she did in that example, and shows exactly what they know as far as literacy and the words that they can relate to the standard that they're learning. So those are the main things that I want to incorporate more in my classroom as far as literacy goes.